Hello and welcome to Sugar Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. My name's Ben Doughty,
And I am Gary Stretch. Hello, everyone.
looking mean and moody in the kind of half light there, Gary, with the familiar bifocals. Looking good. Uh,
I'm not a rapper. I
no,
got these are reading glasses, but I asked them for blue tint, and they did like sunglasses. So I'm getting a new pair, but for everyday reading,
do,
bifocal,
you-
everything.
do you know
But
what? I
so I
tried
go
to.
to I go to restaurants at night with these on. Everyone thinks I'm a wanker, but I'm promise I'm not a wanker. I just got dodgy glasses.
Are you sure that that opinion changes without the glasses? No. Listen. Do you know I tried to emulate your chic like that, and I got these bifocals. I've still got them on the mantelpiece, but the trouble was they were good for reading the bits down here, but I couldn't really see properly through the bits up here. So there was one episode we had where I was keeping my chin up
Well,
like this because
you're supposed to like read at the bottom, and then when your distance is the top, like driving and everything.
yeah.
My eyes are good, like 10 yards. I'm great. Maybe slightly compromised, but good
Yeah.
as anyone, I think. Just reading. But when I went into this fucking optician, he's like, why don't you do bifocal? So he did it. They're not quite as good reading, to be honest, but they're
No.
generally very clear. The world is clear for me
Yeah.
now.
Do you know
I've been
what?
in a cloud for years, Ben, but now I'm clear.
I suspect, Gary, as fascinating as this no doubt is, that our audience didn't tune in to hear us talk about bifocals. I was going
I
to tell
think
Mike,
I think they all relate to the vision of life.
yeah. So listen, we thought, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that we were going to have David King Estrada on with us, but when he tuned in, he was in transit in a truck, and he said he's going to call back into the show a bit later when he's settled somewhere. So that leaves it to me and you, Gary, since the Silk. The Silk's not here, by the way, tonight. You know why?
Go on.
He's got a half-blind date. No, I had to get that joke in.
No, why? And no, why he's not here. I tell you why he's not here.
Go on.
Because there's 5-on-5, and he shit himself with the predictions.
He said he doesn't want to bet. Do you know what? I respect him for that because he said I
No,
don't
Ben.
want.
No, I'll cut
No,
you off.
go on.
Ben, when you give me a fighter on the show, right?
Yeah,
It's my job to go online, look
and
him up,
learn what you can.
record, see who he's fought, see who I know, make a judgment on how the fight went. I can gauge how good he is. I can look at the history, and I get it's an hour of research, and then I can present the show with you, slightly
Yeah,
educated. Some of the fighters I did not know 100%.
but you've
In
done
the,
your homework.
I just looked today at a few of the fights, and so I could judge who I think's going to win.
Yeah, fair
I mean,
play.
we
And I
don't
think
know everybody, do we?
you
We're
probably
not.
are the more professional of the two of you, of my two co-anchors, because you will do the homework. I respect Silk for saying I'm not just going to guess because that makes it a thing of luck. But regardless, we're here.
This
We
is
are going to
this is
do it.
where this is where I appreciate you, Ben, and I think the audience. I think the audience know because, but like you're such a fucking encyclopedia,
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedia on boxing. Like you fucking know everyone pretty much in the game. So
I try to. You know what though? I do realise as much as I know about the history of boxing and certain eras, certainly the history of glove boxing, I'm pretty good on. There are people I know today in my social media acquaintance who always chat on the page about boxing on Facebook, and they are really good, and they are more enthusiastic, probably because some of them are a bit younger than me. They're more enthusiastic about knowing everything about the fighters of now. I call them historians of now. There's one guy called Mark James Knowles and a couple of other fellas. They're really good on fighters. You mention a fighter like an unknown mandatory challenger that no one's heard of. They say, "Oh no, I know that guy. I see him box on a Canadian show last August, and they're really good." So I think that we can all try a bit harder, especially the Silk. Which one should we start with, Gary? There are before we go into 5 versus 5. I guess shall we deal with Dimitri Bivol because that's the odd fight out, and then go from there.
yeah,
So, as you know, this was an even more mouth-watering show initially when it was supposed to be the light heavyweight unification clash between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. That fell out when Beterbiev got injured in training. And so now in steps 30-year-old Malik Zinard, who the reason I know him was because my friend Donny Lalonde used to manage and train him until quite recently, and put quite a lot of time and effort into this guy's career. He's always told me good things about him, but there's nothing from what I haven't seen much of him in action, but I'm acquainted with the record. I'm acquainted with the reports from Donny. There's nothing to me to suggest he's going to scupper the big light heavyweight clash down the line by actually beating Dimitri Bivol tomorrow. I just can't see that.
It's interesting because I did a teeny weeny bit of research. He just fought recently, which is good. So, and then it's about a month notice, but he just fought, so he's probably in good shape.
Yeah.
He fought very recently, or maybe 6-8 weeks ago, and then he got a month's notice for this, so he was in great shape. So that makes me comfortable. Ben, the same. Saudi's been a bit of a banana skin for a few people, for the Fury and the UFC guy. No, well, Fury and Usyk. Also, when Fury fought the other fella,
Ngannou. Yeah, it's not been his luckiest place, has it? It's not been his luckiest turf.
There was another fight in also for Joseph Parker and Wilder. Was a shock.
Yeah.
Like, not the favourites are winning in Saudi, which is interesting. I think with this late replacement with Bivol, I think Bivol's a bit of another level in regard to professionalism. So I think it would be a very big upset if he was to be beat. But again, I'm not 100% on the other guy, so I will go on Bivol out of common sense.
Default common sense, because he is one of the elite fighters in the world at any weight. He's a masterful technician. He's one hard man to beat, and he hasn't come close to being beaten as a professional yet, to the best of my knowledge. Certainly not since I've been cognizant of him. So, and this is the thing, Gary. Were Beterbiev in the opposite corner tomorrow night, I would still be picking Bivol. You may feel differently about that. I don't know, but I would pick him against Beterbiev, and I'm not going to pick him against a guy, who's coming in as a late replacement, who's relatively low key, pedigree.
So you're on Bivol tomorrow, of course.
I'm on Bivol tomorrow. I have to be.
I would be on Beterbiev on that one.
You would, yeah, and I respect that.
Had it happened, yeah. I think, although my common sense would say Bivol in not a boring fight, but not a bomb breaker. You know what I mean? I think Bivol could maybe steal every round from Beterbiev, but I still would be on Beterbiev just because that's my.
He's a beast.
Yeah, I think.
And you know what? I totally respect that view. It's not something I would be arguing with you about. I understand why you pick Beterbiev. Absolutely, and it's a mouth-watering clash, and I hope it doesn't get scuppered by tomorrow, and I hope we see it as soon as possible down the line. All right, so now let's move to the 5 versus 5 thing. Now, before we do, Gary, let's. You said we should employ the same point system here, right? That they're using the Queensberry, which is once we pick our winners, once we pick our favoured men, favoured boxers. It's 2 points for a KO, 1 point for a win, and the captain points can be doubled, right? If we happen to be on the captain of a team, yes?
Yeah.
The only thing I would suggest, Gary, and once again, Silk's going to do his nut over this because we're making all these. We're playing with major points here. You said I could bounce right back into this from my woeful position as it stands. And
imagine if you get more right and the captain, Ben, then you triple up.
But so here we go, Gary. But what I think is, that should be a bonus for us, yeah. But normally here we get a loss when we lose, right? I think if we lose, we should only get the 1 point loss. I don't think we should have 2 deducted if our guy. I think we should get the benefit if we're on the winner, but I don't think we should get -2 points for a KO loss. But what do you feel?
No, just
we get the bonuses, yeah.
In Saudi, are they getting double loss for KO loss?
They're not. No, but the way it works with us, basically they get no points for a loss. But we always get a minus. We always get a minus for a loss. You understand where I'm coming from? We do here, Sugar Stretch. But we're not going to get -2 if the guy that we picked gets knocked out, are we?
No. Just the loss is no points.
I love the way we're deciding all this, and Silk can't do anything about it. Here we are, playing with people's fate here.
Yes, so Silk keeps vanishing, and he loses on. If you're not at the dinner table, you can't eat.
Simple as that. Simple as that. He wanted to gloat too. He really wants to gloat about Catterall winning because he thinks that was karma on me and you because we wouldn't tell him who we picked. He had to make up his own mind, so he didn't make a pick at all. He says we lost because of karma. He said basically Josh Taylor lost, and that's affected his career that pivotally because God loves Silk more than he loves me and you. That's why it happened. You
Well,
know.
there you go. Well,
Okay. So
illusion
snooze you lose.
joins all forces. Yes.
So in any case, let's start with Nick Ball, who controversially drew with Ray Vargas on the Joshua Ngannou bill a little while ago. Some people thought, most people seem to think he won the fight. He goes in with the defending WBA champion, slick southpaw Raymond Ford, from out of, I believe he's from Camden, New Jersey or Philadelphia. So before we jump straight into the prediction, what's your thoughts on that? On perhaps Nick Ball's kind of style and potential versus the Americans?
I wasn't familiar with Raymond that much, but I did look him up.
Yeah.
It's an interesting fight because Ball's cannonball, as they call him, or non-stop pressure action.
Yeah.
Raymond Ford does get hit, which is interesting, and he is a bit suspect to. Is Ball a southpaw?
No, he's orthodox. I'm pretty sure.
Orthodox.
The other guy, Ford is a southpaw. Ford is a southpaw.
Yeah. He does look susceptible. I saw some of the footage to the backhand. That must be the right hand of an orthodox. So he gets hit. So it's interesting. But my gut, not to do with my educated gut, my gut goes with Raymond Ford.
Raymond Ford. Same thing, Gary. I'm with you because I favour the boxer. I mean, I think Ball. I don't necessarily agree that Ball should have been adjudged the winner of the Ray Vargas fight. It was very close, but I'm going to favour the boxer, the person who's more akin to my kind of tradition and belief system on fighters, which is the slick southpaw. You know, who he was in a thriller, by the way. When you probably watched a bit of his title-winning effort against Kolmatov, the Russian, who was a fellow southpaw.
It was back and forth. Yeah,
was a bit of a barnstormer. So he can take pressure. He can deal with a fighter coming forward. I mean, the other guy was a southpaw, but I just fancy. He looks to me like the more skilled fighter as much as Ball is all action. He's entertaining and he's a pressure cooker and all the rest of it. But I'm with you. I'm going with Raymond Ford.
Old-fashioned basic boxing fundamentals should get him through it. Yeah.
So we're going to have to make sure we're keeping notes of this because this is where the potential exists for confusion. So far, we're both on Bivol and we're both on Ford.
Yeah.
So okay, guys, help us out with that if you're watching. Some of you are, I know. All right, then. So let's move it up a notch. We'll finish with the heavyweights, right? So we're going to build up to them like they would do on a show. Okay. So you've got Craig Richards versus Willie Hutchinson. Thoughts?
The young bull against the seasoned pro, it looks like, right?
Yeah. I mean, Richardson has boxed Richards has boxed at a higher level. Richards gave Bivol a decent fight. Didn't look like winning it, but he was there. Never in a moment's trouble versus Bivol.
I think this is a big light on the prospect here. Is he going to come into a player, or is he going to be a prospect who didn't fulfill?
Well, he already has the one loss, right, against Lennox Clark.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a step up. He's not fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, but he's fighting an absolute top pro. You know what I mean? A really seasoned pro. I guess Frank Warren thinks he's ready for it.
I mean, I think he must. The thing with Richards, he is a good operator and he's boxed at a high level. Obviously, the Joshua Buatsi fight as well, is another example of his high-end competition. But I thought he boxed. You know that adage about a fighter knows how to lose, and his psyche is slightly adjusted accordingly once he knows how to lose. I did wonder in the Buatsi fight whether it looked as if Richards was boxing somewhat like that, like he'd suddenly was willing to accept defeat without taking himself to a really dark, stormy place. You know what I mean? But
You
having
think?
said that,
Do you think?
Hutchinson's already got beat as well.
Do you think that the young prospect is going to box out of his skin, and the other guy knows how to lose, or do you think the seasoned pro will overshadow the prospect?
I tend to think the latter, to be honest with you. I just think Richards is the better fighter, and I'm going with him, all things being equal, to win. A friend of mine called Danny Wright is his cousin, and he's out there in Riyadh. He's going to be in the corner. Danny does his own little podcast and things like that as well. And so I'm not allowing that to act upon my mind, by the way, because I'm not necessarily going to back Dubois just because Don Charles, who's a friend, is training him. But I fancy Richards to do it. Do you know, there was a funny little exchange. I don't know if you caught any of it, Gary, where they met in Riyadh. They all seem to stay in about the same hotel, yeah. So they keep bumping into each other. You notice that they often bump into each other and get into this trash talk because they can't miss each other. All the rivals, yeah. And at some point, Hutchinson, who's obviously a white guy who lives in Scotland, has said to Richards, "Bumberclart," he's called him. And some people were getting up in arms saying that is racist because it's obviously patois is not part of his normal kind of vocabulary. So he's obviously saying it to Richards because it's a kind of racist implication, you know, a very gentle, sarcastic racial slur. And my mate Spencer Fearon was saying, "Oh, Plum, come on, have a day off." Of course, it's not racist, and you know, he's just it's banter. You know what I mean?
What do you think? I think they'd do anything to get under the skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a bit uncalled. I think there's better ways to go. But so you're going to be on Richards?
I am. Yeah. What about you?
And these are both. Are these Richards? Is this? This is Warren's guy, right?
What? Yeah, Hutchinson is Warren's guy, and Richards is Matchroom's guy, Eddie's guy.
So Richards is Eddie's guy,
Yes.
and Ford is
Ford is
Warren.
Eddie's guy as well. Ford is Eddie's guy as well.
So we're both on Ford, right?
Yeah, we're both on Ford.
So that's Eddie.
Yeah, and I'm picking Richards as well, which is Eddie as well.
Why is it, Ben, on the thing that you sent me? They're on opposite sides, though. Is that just the way you've got Raymond Ford versus Nick Ball?
Yeah.
Now, Raymond Ford is with Eddie, right?
Yeah.
And Ball is with Frank.
Yeah.
And then you go down the list, and we have Hutchinson versus Richards, which would be Eddie, but it's the opposite way around. That's Frank. And
that's just box rec. You can't. They're not. It's
box rec. Okay.
It's the box rec. It's the box rec event thing. So don't read into that. Do you know what? I'll tell you something. I'm fucking glad the Silk isn't here right now because we're getting confused as it is, and there's only two of us, and we've got this. We've got a handle on this. If the other fellow was here, it would be chaos and anarchy right now.
We'd be over dwelling on it. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So Raymond Ford is with Eddie, right?
Eddie, yeah.
And Richards is with Eddie.
Yes, so far I picked two Matchroom guys.
So that would be. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Richards too.
Okay, so there's no differentiation yet. Right, where should we go next?
No, you know what? You know what, Ben? I'm going to go with Hutchinson.
Do you know what? You're probably a good idea because if I was you, I would definitely bet against me based on all mathematical evidence we have to date.
You've been unlucky on a few, but I'm going to go with Hutchinson because I'm going to go on through your dialogue. I'm going to go on that Richards knows how to lose. So I'm going to go on a kid's going to get
Hutchinson, and he lost to a lesser guy than.
I'm going to go with the young prospect to lift his spirit and do a big job on the older.
And don't forget, all of these picks have got the added caveat of possible stoppage wins, and this is going to be interesting. This is going to set the cat amongst the pigeons, and the other guy, the Silk, is not going to be happy. But what can we do? David Corbett says every time I see Gary, an image pops into my head of when he answered the door with a painted clown face and dead man's shoes. It's because he's wearing a vest, I suppose. It's a good job you did that, Gary, because I don't think you are. You are remembered for being a boxer, of course you are. And you are remembered for the Eubank fight, yes. But you're remembered for dead man's shoes more than anything.
It's
You re-
become quite a cult movie. Yeah, it's.
And most people
I'm
loved
very
it because of that.
proud. I'm very happy. No, I'm not happy to. I mean, I'm very appreciative that not a lot of people can do a movie that people remember. So it's nice to
Yeah.
be involved in a film that people remember.
And our most watched video since we started Sugar Silk and Stretch YouTube channel, the most watched video of our content is you talking about Dead Man's Shoes when I made a vignette of it.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool that it was received well, and I'm grateful for the nice comments. Yeah, but and that's again, I told you that's a movie I was told not to do because
Yeah.
I come off a big movie for a lot of money, and I went onto a little movie for no money, and everyone said, "Don't do it," and it became a blessing. So all the people out there, if you believe in something, no matter what people
Do it.
say, follow your heart, because it can often come back and prove you right. I just followed my gut and I did it
Bit
for
like
that.
this podcast, right?
Of course. And I know, Ben, one day this will be a great podcast, and most of it will be because of your tenacity and your non-stop pushing to get it done. And people don't realize the amount of work you've done and now focused and non-stop. And if we get there, it'll be highly most
Well,
of the
I
time because
appreciate you guys too because you both stuck with it. You're both so committed. Even when Silk is arguing the toss or you're
yeah,
arguing the toss, it shows you're committed to it because you actually care that much. And you're like, hang on, if this isn't right, or what are we doing this, or when are we having this guy on? You're both so committed when you don't have to do it. You don't have to be here,
I tell
and
you,
you're both
Ben,
here all week.
I do it because of you, and two reasons. Number one, because you so much believe in it, but number two, I actually enjoy having educational conversation with someone who knows the fucking game. Like I get so bored when I watch a lot of the other podcasts, and there's some good ones, bad ones. Most of them, they're not so educated. They just talk about the obvious, but we seem to have a much more in depth, and it's not about our knowledge as boxers. It's like it's the love of the game, and like you're a bit of an enthusiast and a fucking encyclopedia on boxing, so I enjoy this because I get to I learn as much as I give my opinion. I learn a lot because I'm talking to someone who's fucking highly educated on the sport and who loves the sport and who's very honest. One thing you have, Ben, which may have not hurt you in the past, but isolated you in regard to some people love or don't like, but one thing you do get with you is the fucking truth. And so I enjoy that. When I jump out of line or say something you don't believe in, you don't go along with it, you pull me on it, which is
Yeah, as do you.
often.
No, the thing is, and you're right, it possibly has kept me a little bit niche in some ways when I haven't played a certain game some of the others play. But before we continue, honestly, God, there's not two ex-fighters I can think of I'd rather be working with. If I could think of the coolest situation before it happened, I'd be like someone like Michael Sigurdsson and say Gary Stretch. That's what I'd have said. I'd have been that would be the coolest. And never mind if you offer me Carl Froch, Ricky Hatton, whatever. I want to be doing this with you two.
Me
So
too.
anyway,
I enjoy our talks on and off air. So yeah,
um,
so back to the score. I'm on Willie and
yeah.
you're on Craig.
So let's go with Hamza Shiraz and Austin Ammo Williams now. That's an interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, I just looked up Williams, Austin, Auto, they call him. Is that his nickname?
Ammo.
Ammo, that's it, Ammo. You know what's interesting is he's like the fundamental pro, like the solid, like a Holyfield, not like that, but like the pro,
You remind me
really.
of Winky Wright a little bit because he's a southpaw
Yeah,
as well.
he's like not a world beater is regard to like super special, but he's like good at everything. He's like a really good pro, and he could probably win a world title if like have that belt for a while out of work ethic and professionalism, and he's the ultimate pro. It really depends now on Shiraz how good he really is, and is he that guy
What he's
who
supposed to be, yeah.
was supposed to be? And what's interesting in like Conor McGregor, like when the shit hit the fan, he was under such pressure. He always delivered, but I often think, as much as he's amazing, like there's a bit of luck involved. You know what I mean? But I think the luck comes with like absolute commitment. Like Connor was amazing, but like like when he fought the guy he knocked out in 1 minute, like on 8 times out of 10, that would never have happened. When Connor fought the Brazilian, he was a world champion for like 10 years. Amazing fight. After Connor remained, they caught each other at split second, same time he got knocked out. And Connor, like he had the blessings of spirit, and because he was like a whirlwind. Hamza Shiraz is a bit like that. Will he get this momentum and take him through? Maybe. Or will the solid pro come through? It's a real 50-50 for me. Let's come back to it.
Okay, we can come back to it. We can come back to it. No problem. So the semi wind-up, the way I've structured it this time, will be Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgović, which is now, by the way, in case you care, Gary, in case anybody else cares, it has been upgraded to an interim IBF title fight because they're getting ready to strip Alexander Usyk, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, of that particular bauble. Not that he cares, not particularly, I imagine, not that we care, but that is an interim IBF title fight. Regardless, it's a decent fight. What are you saying, Gary?
I'm on Daniel Dubois.
You are? Okay. This is... See, here we go.
And I'm on it by quite a devastating knockout.
Well, that'll be interesting. I'd like you to be right, and I feel a little bit
I think
compromised.
Sorry, Ben, cut me off.
I feel a bit compromised because Don Charles is a good friend of mine, and Dubois is a nice guy, but
forgetting that,
towards Hrgović.
Forgetting the friendship. Let's look at Dubois' career. So he got the stoppage against Joyce,
Miller.
right?
He was stopped, yeah, by Joyce, yeah.
But he had fucking 3 bones broken in his face.
Yes.
Proven doctor, Frank Warren talked about. He saw the doctor. He said 3 broken bones. If it had got hit again, he'd have been blind. So I think people know. I hurt myself in an injury a while ago. I knew it was bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got hurt, whether he quit or not. Survival. If you're going to get blind, your body says no. You know what I mean? It's like, so I don't think he quit. I think he showed he came through some interesting moments in his last fight, and with the
Miller,
baby Miller or whatever. So let's give him a break on the loss with the ice broken orbital, whatever he had. Other than that, he gave Usyk all the problems in the world for a while. It was very competitive.
Well, what the thing is, Gary, I'm not arguing, but I just want to check this. Did he give Usyk a lot of problems, or did he have that one moment which was highly controversial? And was he relatively dominated in that box except for that moment?
I thought it was competitive, and I thought he had Usyk on his toes a lot. Usyk was cautious of him, and he was. I thought he looked dangerous in it. I thought he looked. It was like Usyk may have been edging it, given, but Dubois looked very much in it, and then he got the big shot, which again we can all argue. I don't cry over spilled milk, but he was extremely competitive. Then he comes back and he fights baby, showed good heart, and I think he's and now I think the big thing about Daniel Dubois, I think most of his issues are mental, and I think he's on a bit of a run. I think he's a young boy who's suddenly. I think the momentum's going with him, and I think he's building and building. He looked fucking great shape. He looks big. He looks strong, and I don't rate Hrgović at all.
No,
I don't
hear
rate
what you're
him.
saying, but I think he's awkward and robust. And I mean, to be honest with you, I thought Zhang probably beat Hrgović. I thought Hrgović was a little fortunate.
Everyone does,
yeah. So
I don't rate him. I think an overthinking fighter, Hrgović could give issues because he's a bit awkward, like you're saying. But I think Daniel Dubois, because he doesn't think that much. I don't mean that in a like you tell him what to do and he does it.
Instinctive, and he does it. Yeah, point him in a direction and let
him
go.
I think he'll be like programmed to go and do it, and I think that Hrgović. I don't think he'll give him that much. I think Daniel will just. I think he'll have quite a. I think he'll just knock him out.
Okay, I mean, I was looking at the Zhang fight again with Hrgovic, and while I think he lost it, he looked like he got a very solid chin in that fight. Particular, he revealed, because I did consider the stoppage angle for Dubois. Reluctantly, I'm going with Hrgovic, which will be interesting because in some ways I hope you're right, because it's a victory for my friend Don Charles, and they can move onwards and upwards. But I think I don't know if he's going to stop him, and I think that some of those issues and flaws which Dubois has, some of the chinks in Dubois' armour, I think maybe they could possibly come to the fore in a tough 12-round fight. They are 12-rounders, right? I ought to know, but I'm pretty sure they're 12-rounders, all of the fights, right?
I mean, this is the biggest stakes fight of the night because the winner will fight Joshua, highly likely.
Yeah, at Wembley, exactly that.
Whoever wins
Yeah,
this is probably whoever wins this is probably securing his financial future with his next fight.
And Dubois versus Joshua at Wembley is a bigger fight, isn't it, than Hrgovic versus Joshua?
Sure, huge fight, and especially if Daniel's coming off a big win, the momentum again. See Dubois by KO. Said he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, but he raises an interesting caveat though. He says, "Didn't Hrgovic stop Dubois in sparring though? He's heard a gym rumor, which
yes,
I wasn't familiar with."
But if he did, it was a 17-year-old Dubois. It was a baby with no amateur record, and sparring. It's like if you knock me out when we fight, Ben.
Yeah,
I was 58, so it wasn't like you thought.
I love the way you're using the word fight already. That's good. I love the way.
There's no such thing as a spar. If I crack you on the chin, you'll come at me, and if you crack me on the chin, I'll come back. So it ends up a fucking fight.
It's 9 minutes. It's 9 minutes of our lives. What the fuck?
9 minutes of hell. I'm going to unleash hell on you for 9 minutes. No,
9 minutes of hell. Yeah.
No, right. No, it's like I think that Dubois is gonna unleash hell on. I don't rate.
Hrgovic. Neither do I to a great degree, but I think my gut once again is telling me that he'll probably get the nod tomorrow night, but we shall see. That leaves us with the nominal main event, I suppose, which is Zhilei Zhang versus Deontay Wilder. With this one, Gary, I see that. I think Zhang has better fundamentals. I'm not completely convinced that he was not a bit unfortunate against Parker. I mean, I know you were on Parker and you'd scored it for Parker when we did the watch along. I think officially my card had Zhang on it, but it was one of those things where I figured I'd got Zhang the winner at the end, but it wasn't something I felt very strongly about, so it wasn't a narrative that I was trying to push. Parker, fair play to him, won fair and square. But Deontay looked so shot against Parker and so kind of denuded of whatever it was that made him such a force that you might be tempted to conclude that he's finished. But part of me, even though I fancy Zhang probably tomorrow night, there's a nagging feeling I've got that he's there to be hit, and Wilder only needs to hit him once, and that's that. Even though he's a big juggernaut with a good chin, Zhang, I think a lot of people are basing this notion that Wilder wins the fight on the idea if he hits you once, he can take you out, and that Wilder will hit Zhang once because Zhang is nothing like Joseph Parker,
Yeah, and Zhang's not going to box like Joseph Parker, that defensive. He's going to go and have a fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's method in his craft.
Yeah, but he's a much smarter operator than he's not. He doesn't get hit particularly that much, but he's there to be hit, and he will go looking for Wilder for sure. And I'm sure he's going to be highly motivated after seeing Wilder versus Parker.
And he's a southpaw as well.
I'm exactly where you're at, Ben. I'm like, my boxing brain says Zhang is probably got the beatings of Wilder, but he definitely can be caught. And if he is caught, where do we go from there? So it could be, we're going to have to both stick a neck out. I'll let you go first.
I'll go with the Chinese fella. I bet you're going with the Bronze Bomber.
I am.
I thought so. Which
You
means
know,
that's what's going to happen. Obviously, the clue is in the previous performances. Let's face it. It's like, we're giving people results before they even happen.
the one thing I don't like about Wilder is I studied psychology for years. It's a hobby, right? And so I've read thousands of books. I've watched a million films, YouTube. I mean, I'm very into psychology, partly because of acting is,
Yeah,
recreation. When someone says I'm the bomber now, I'm back, it's when you're really there, you don't say it.
yeah.
You're just there, you know what I mean? He keeps talking like he has these two characters. Like, no, has he lost that edge? Has the silk pajamas changed him, or has three
The drugs.
Fury fights changed him? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
I
The
know
wear
it
and
took.
tear.
I mean, we all know Fury looks a bit more vulnerable these days. I think the three fights getting him off the floor with Wilder
Johnson. Yeah.
definitely took something out of Fury, and I'm sure Fury took a lot out of him. They had brutal fights. So, and he keeps talking like this alter ego about the bomber, and so I don't like the fact that he's talking about it. I wish he would just show up and get on with it. But I won't take away he does still have the fundamental big power shot, and
And he only has to land it once, probably.
I
Even if
actually,
you, even
my
if you've got a
actual
great chin.
yeah, my smart brain, Ben, if I was really smart, I'd probably go with you on Zhang, but I'm gonna go for the wild. I'm gonna go for
So,
the Wilder.
so let me see if I can recap and remember. Because if I can remember, it's all good. So, we're both on Bivol. We are both on Raymond Ford. You are on Hutchinson, and I'm on Richards. You are on. You want to come back to Shiraz? We didn't do it. We didn't do it. We didn't finish it. We didn't finish it. So
Yeah,
come on, Shiraz versus Emma Williams. You wanted to come back to it.
I'm gonna go with my heart, and my heart and my want, and my. I'm gonna go with momentum. Shiraz.
I agree with you. I'm going with Shiraz too. I think he is that guy that they're marketing him to be, grooming him to be. I think he's a very good, decent, tall boxer puncher. He was saying to me when we did an interview a few months ago that he said he never stopped anybody in the amateurs. He said he had about one stoppage. He said, but he became a puncher in the pros, a bit like that kind of Tommy Hearns syndrome that people always refer to. And I think he is maturing into one serious package as a middleweight terror. And
And and I think Williams has little regard for him like he said in the face to face, you're not built for this. This is not really who you are. He kept saying, I see you. You're not. This is not who you've been well managed, but this is not this. You're not built for this. This is not. I think he's gonna have a sense of overconfidence, and I think that's gonna be his downfall because I think Shiraz will catch him with a beautiful shot, and the fight will be over.
yeah, I mean, I heard his behaviour was highly eccentric. At the head of gloves are off type thing. They had to sit down, all of them, and we didn't see it. I don't believe, but
I
people who
saw it.
watched the show. Oh, you saw it, and he was acting a bit
He was saying
out.
things like, "I'm gonna make love to you," like not make love to you. He was saying like, "I'm gonna give you love." He kept saying, "When I look at you, you're not built. This is not what you're supposed to be doing in your life. You're
Okay,
supposed to be doing something else.
yeah,
This is who I am. This is not who you are. I will show the world that you should. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be doing something else. All this shit." And then he kept saying, "You've been so well managed." And I think Warren has him right.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Warren has him. Yeah,
and Warren's, done the great job with all this. But I've seen flashes of amazing stuff with Shiraz. I think he may be everything that Warren thinks he is. And even if he isn't, I think he's dangerous enough that if Williams is a little overconfident, he'll get caught. And if he gets caught, he may get taken out.
yeah. I'm with that. I can't fault your logic on that. His advisor, Shiraz. His advisor is Colin McMillan, the former
I know.
WBO featherweight champion of the world, who's a very nice fellow, who was a sublime
Probably.
boxer in his day. I always wonder, Gary, when someone says that someone's their advisor, not their manager. What does that really mean in practical terms? Or what kind of deal have they got? I wonder.
Means he's not good enough to be my manager, so he's my
Seriously,
advisor.
what?
They get a lot less money, and they don't control his life, but he runs things by him.
Yeah, and they give it because Ambrose Mendy was advisor to James DeGale for a while until he maybe the first title defense or the second title defense of his IBF super middleweight title. And I've always wondered. I mean, obviously Ambrose is very well heeled and lives well, and is always on the spot in exclusive gatherings. But I always wonder how an advisor is making their money. You know what I mean? Because there is this element of mystery about it. You know what a manager gets for the most part, and you know what a trainer gets. But when someone like that is an advisor and they're traveling with a world champion, you always wonder what the nuts and bolts of that deal is. You know what I mean?
I think Ambrose is a fucking street smart guy. So
Yeah.
I think Ambrose always had a hustle going on. You know what I mean? Like he always had not illegally, like he always had a game.
Yeah.
Ambrose would have been successful with or without boxing. He's one of them guys. He's like everything touches.
To be fair, sometimes it was illegal, Gary. To be totally fair.
No, I'm sure, but I'm not. I don't know anything about that. But what I'm saying is, Ambrose is he's a sophisticated boy off the cobbles. You know what I mean? He's like, you can imagine that Ambrose, you put him in any situation, he'll make money. You know?
You know what? He was he had a dispute once. I think it was a court dispute with Frank Warren. And then Frank Warren said, and then next minute he goes and produces this guy who he claims is an African king or something. And Warren was extremely skeptical. It was either an African king or some really high diplomats. It was,
Ambrose is so fun and smart, and he's got a sense of humor. And like in the biggest court trial ever, he's the kind of guy you'd bring in the joke or somehow make the jury laugh, and he'd get off with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's got innovative ways of making you fall in love with him. So, and he's got so much charisma. I think Ambrose survives in any situation.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite people in boxing and one of the most fascinating characters I've met in boxing.
Yeah, great, charismatic and fun, and a great guy, and someone I trust. Ambrose, but I know he's a handful, but I think if Ambrose, if you're his friend, I think he's got you back. You know what I mean? Sure. He demands that kind of respect back, but he gives it. I think Ambrose stands by his guys 100%.
I was in some trouble once in 2016. People were talking about a load of ticket money and for this particular fight, and everything had gone wrong. And Ambrose Mendy gave me a call and I didn't speak to anybody for about 4 or 5 days, and I was supposedly was missing and all the rest of it. And Ambrose gave me a call and said, "Listen, anyone who knows you you didn't deliberately do anybody out of any money." He said, "If anything, he said you're not on the take." He said, "You're sacrificial." I think he meant you sacrifice for your passion. He says, "You sacrifice, you don't take." He said, "Anybody knows this is just one of those things of spinning too many plates." But that made me feel good at the time when it was at a low point. He said, "Anybody who knows you knows what this is." And
I think Ambrose runs parallel to Angelo Dundee.
Yeah,
because he's a motivator. He can get you up, make you believe. I think Dundee was more of a motivator than a trainer.
I hear that, but I think he did know his technical stuff.
No, I'm sure, but I think he's a brilliant motivator, and I think which is a big part of training. He's getting people to believe.
Well, like you say, Gary, Sugar Ray Leonard said that Angie didn't train me per se. He said Angie would show up 2 weeks prior to a fight, and he said he was a great corner man and all the rest of it. So yeah,
a mental guy, get you belief, get you up for things, make you believe. Great leader, and I think Ambrose has the same qualities. Someone who can, you could be down in the dumps. You spend 20 minutes with Ambrose, he make you believe you can do anything. He has that kind of charisma, and it's a special kind of charisma because he makes you believe in you. He's not a sycophant. He wants you to believe in him. He actually makes you believe in yourself. He gives you the keys to open the doors for your life. And because I've been around him and I've seen him affect people by making them believe in themselves. They're down on that. He says, "Come on, what the fuck's wrong with you?" And he makes you believe. It's a very powerful gift. So he's worth every penny of what he charges, Ambrose. He's fucking super smart too.
Whatever it is, whatever the fee is, he's worth it. Yeah.
Whatever he is worth.
I want to draw your attention to those weigh-in statistics there in the screen, Gary. Wilder was 214. Zhang was 282 pounds.
Well, I think on this one, that slick, fast, wiry Wilder could just do an execution job. That's like a bang over. Do you get me?
Yeah.
If it gets late in the fight, of course, it's going to be it's going to come into the fight. If it gets messy and holdy, then it's going to be a big problem for Wilder. But if he can, I think Wilder's best chance is in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
As the fight goes on, it's going to sway considerably, and that's going to be weight, and it's going to be belief, how much you want it. I think the one who has the most at stake here is Zhang, because he's never really had his moment. Every time he's almost had a moment, he's had it taken away. This is his definite last hurrah. Wilder doesn't have to dig so deep, because if he's not 100%, he's got the career that he can retire and say it's over. What an amazing career ahead. But Zhang has got, this is everything for him. This is his last chance. And like Wilder doesn't need a last chance. He's already been there, done it. He would love to do it again, but I don't know if that's life or death. I think the longer the fight goes, Zhang, and I think Zhang has got himself in shape. The wind will be there this time. And I think that I still think the one shot will do it.
Yeah.
And
we'll soon find out. And if it does, the Silk, that'll be another one for the Silk about the weight is meaningless, blah blah blah.
But I can also see the one shot being Wilder gets knocked the fuck out like that too. Yeah. So it could
be the other guy's not a powder puff.
You know what I don't like, which has bothered me. So I don't want to be a witch, but you know, Wilder keeps saying, if I die in the ring, I'm happy. He keeps fucking saying it. It's almost like, shut up. You know, I would hate him to get hit, but he keeps saying this weird shit that makes me think. I hope we both get out safe, but I can imagine a bad knockout either way.
Yeah. So to recap, we are united on Bivol, Bivol, Ford, and Shiraz. We agree on those. The other 3 we're going for different guys on. I will not say we disagree, because I think we both.
You're on Hrgovic.
Yeah.
We're both on Bivol, both on Ford. I'm on Shiraz, you're on Williams.
No, I'm on Shiraz.
You're on Shiraz with me. And then I'm on Willie Hutchinson, you're on Craig Richards.
Yeah.
You're on Zhang and I'm on Wilder.
Yes. And I've got Hrgovic over your Dubois. So there's a lot of, it's going to be very different scoreboard come Sunday morning, regardless, particularly when we've got the potential for extra points here. As you said, I could bounce right back in on this. The Silk, what I was going to offer the Silk, because obviously we're going to get a bunch of points theoretically here that he has not got access to because he can't make the pick. He's not going to like that. So what I actually even offered him was, but he didn't come back to me in the WhatsApp group, was that he could align himself with either me or you, and we'll carry him this week. Whatever you win, he wins. Whatever.
No. You know what the fucked up thing is, Ben? Like, this whole competition, right, is set up.
Yeah.
I think you created it. We set up this little competition for fun, but look at the basis. It's knowledge about boxing.
Yeah.
So if you can't say I'm not taking part this week because I don't know that guy, that's the whole fucking point. You have to know everything about boxing. Who wins, who loses. It's like if we go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you can't say I don't know the answer to that question, so I'll give you another question.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's take the hard line. He always takes a hard line with you. When I said, no, we can't take the Garcia win off Gary, he's like, yes, we can. So all right, it cuts both ways. We haven't taken it off you, by the way, yet. We haven't taken it. But there's an update on that, Gary. We could probably talk about it quickly. There's an update. Garcia, his legal team issued a statement where they said they found 2 supplements. I can't remember the name, but I will find them and post them later. they found 2 supplements. They said that they've tested positive for Ostarine with their own tests. They've sent them to the commission, whatever, and said these are the culprits, which is totally consistent with what we said. It's in the billionth of a gram range anyway. Wouldn't have given him any benefit. He had a clean hair strand test, which we gave the day afterwards. All the rest of it, they said these are the supplements which and these are the things that were contaminated and why he was tested positive for Ostarine. But Victor Conte said, well, all the commissioner said they sent these supplements open. They weren't. They need to be closed off to prove the point. He said, but they'd already been opened. He said, which means they could have been tampered with. He said, so that is not worth the paper it's written on, kind of thing.
But surely they could get a new box of the same supplements to test, right?
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah. That'd be interesting if the new ones are not contaminated, only the open ones.
Yeah, the plot thickens, yeah. But the other thing was that the Team Garcia didn't answer yet. They said, did you make it clear to the commission you were taking these supplements ahead of time? Because apparently that is another possible process which perhaps should have been observed, But
Right.
But you know what they said? His legal representative was quoted as saying, we're looking, we're saying we know we're going to get some sanction, but we think this should mitigate it a lot. We think it should be slight. So we're willing to accept like a 4-month ban. They've said, can we possibly get like a 4-month ban or something? They're saying
anyway from the fight.
Say again? Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. Yeah,
exactly that. But they basically said, obviously, we're probably will get a ban, but can it be a little one, please? That's the latest noise from Team Garcia.
Let me ask you this, Ben. What are your thoughts on December fight now with Wilder and with Fury and Usyk?
God knows, Gary. It's hard. I mean, because I think that's a winnable fight for Fury. He was winning that fight after 7 rounds. I don't care what anyone says. And something, a lapse of concentration, the shift in momentum.
The nose definitely was a big issue. I think a lot more than you think. He looked painful to watch. It's like
It's a winnable fight for Fury. The rematch, it is.
Yeah. It's a win. I think I'll be on Fury again, but I think he has to clean up his life and his corner and go back, do a Sylvester Stallone, go to the mountains, him and his core group, show up, do it and leave and get back to his life. I think this is a prime example of you can't play boxing like at this level. The difference is that there's little details, you know what I mean? And I think that people can say what they want, but I honestly think that the crucial moments in the fight could have been won and lost in the corner to give good, clear instruction to, round by round, give good, clear instruction and not get all the chaos. The chaos, you just go back into more chaos. So if you'd have had a clear, quiet corner, I think you would have been a lot.
Everybody says that the old man needs to be nowhere near it next time. By the way, that's Robert Hernandez who works with David King Estrada. He said that David Estrada is still stuck in traffic. That's not a problem. We'll reschedule. It's all good, Robert. Don't worry about that. But yeah, so I agree with you, Gary. It's a bit early for me to make a pick yet with any conviction. But I think maybe Fury perhaps might want to look at giving less ground this time and being more aggressive and pushing it backwards.
I couldn't believe after calling Usyk a middleweight that he went on his back foot. I
mean, I think Usyk was going to resolve to do that because I think Usyk thought, I'm not going to be dancing around like people think. I'm going to take it to him and I'm going to work the body, and I'm going to give him angles and all the rest of it and stay in his face and set a pace that Fury perhaps doesn't like. But Fury should have been able to do something more than he did to nullify that, perhaps.
What's shocking is the biggest challenge to date of Usyk's career was Chisora.
Yeah, Chisora. Yeah.
And that was someone who had no regard, no respect, just put it on him, bullied him, and took him out of his comfort. And I think that Fury should have done I think he should have took the middle of the ring, never took a step back to say, if you want to get to me, come through this stiff 8-foot jab and deal with what's going to come at you. And I think he'd give him so much respect, which he shouldn't have done. And just treat him like a middleweight. and I think he believed the hype as much as everybody else. Fury, everyone was saying Usyk's going to win. I think he's got to a point where he suddenly did take him serious, and even took him a bit too serious and give him too much respect. And I think he has to be. We all know he's amazing fighter. Usyk is amazing at adjustments in fights, but the way to beat him is like Chisora, just no regard, no respect, push him back, bully him, use your weight, use your size. And he got very uncomfortable. And he was the closest one so far to beating him.
I still think he won the fight without any
Oh,
controversy.
no, for sure. But he was uncomfortable a lot.
He looked uncomfortable in the early rounds, didn't he? He looked like he just thought, "Oh, this is a different game to what I'm used to. This is very physical and a little bit disconcerting." You know,
really stressful in some of them. And he hung in. I mean, what's amazing with Usyk is he finds a way. He doesn't know how to lose.
And you've seen that Chisora's fighting Joyce, by the way. Talking to Derek,
which I think is another really good fight.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, even there's I'm not disparaging either, but the old XCM2 Donkeys Make a Derby is something as well, you know, that springs to mind, because if Derek is damaged goods by now and he's squeezing every last penny he can from this game, to be fair to him, and if Joyce has seen better days, he's no spring chicken and he's had a couple of losses to Zhang, then that's where I get that analogy from. But they can still have a great fight, can't they?
Yeah, and I would be on the 50-50 on that one.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty of time for that one. You know,
what's interesting, Ben, now is if you look at the heavyweights, you know what affects our choices on when we're doing the picks. It's not so much often who's the better fighter. It's like who's on the slide. The heavyweights are all so old now.
They are, you know, and I guess the young blood in that division, when you talk about the young blood in the heavyweight division, you're talking about Jared Anderson, right? The other big baby, who showed some signs of some worrying signs outside the ring recently of perhaps having a slightly questionable temperament and getting into a bit of trouble, whatever it was he did. It was something pretty crazy, wasn't it? There's always a mitigating story, isn't there? There's always legal people to clean up, say, actually, this is all a misunderstanding and he was just, you know, whatever. Same thing with Jarrell Miller, right? Jarrell Miller's got another big fight against Andy Ruiz, yeah, in August 3rd. You know that?
Really? No, I didn't know.
Yeah. He's fighting Andy Ruiz Jr. So Jarrell Miller has got 9 lives, Gary. I tell you that. Because I mean, the trouble he gets himself into, the drug scandals, the bans, the legal problems, and he just bounces back and comes up smelling a relative roses.
Beat someone up at a car dealership and fucked off in the car illegally. He had his car. He had his car repossessed, and he like smashed the guy, took it, and drove off, chased by the police. I mean, yeah, he's got 9 lives for sure.
Because the thing is, he's got a publicist. Her name is Alvina Alston. She's the coolest woman ever. She's one of those Black American women who just got so much style and profile and vitality and good nature and charisma. She's proper New York black. I don't want to say black exploitation, but she's just a wonderful person, Alvina. And she's like, she's Baby Miller's she's one of his team and she's one of his people. It was her that got me the access to him when they had the Wembley press conference before the Day of Reckoning. Remember the big show at the end of last year, December 23rd. And I remember when I captioned the interview, or I captioned the picture, me with the always controversial Baby Miller. She said, well, could you put something other than controversial? She said, he's going to give me a hard time for that because she's his publicist. But, but she's obviously doing a great job, I think, with Miller.
Yeah, she's got a lot to work with, literally.
Yeah. But, so there we go. It's going to be interesting, Gary, because we've agreed on certain things, with good reasons. We've differed on a couple. In a way, it reassures me because it's not a question of going down with you or getting exalted with you. We can't lose them all. We've kind of gone 50-50 on these picks. So unless we get a bunch of draws, I can't lose them all.
You know what's going to be fun, Ben? Let's look at the 2 fights that we differed on because we have a little bit of time. Let's talk through why we're on who. So give me the fight.
So you've got Dubois and Hrgovic, and you've got. Let's start with that one. I agree with you. Dubois, what you're saying is Dubois isn't damaged goods. He's had a couple of setbacks, that's all. Fighters used to have them all the time before this obsessional culture about being unbeaten was around. And you're saying they're caveated and mitigated his losses. by rights, perhaps he should be the champion of the heavyweight champion of the world anyway, because before Usyk even got in that position, because of those who believe it was a legitimate body shot. And you're saying the smashed orbital bone against Joe Joyce, and you're saying you don't rate Hrgovic either, and that this kid can be devastating on his nights, and he's got the momentum of a good win against Miller, and you don't see why he can't knock out Hrgovic. That's why you differ.
What I don't understand, this is where, if I was your advisor, I'd say, all right, Ben, we're putting the fucking house on this. Why are you on Hrgovic when you thought Zhang beat him?
Yeah, I did.
Joseph Parker just beat Zhang.
Yeah.
Right? And you also think Zhang beat him. Parker beat Zhang. Why you want him to beat Joyce? Like, why you want him to beat Dubois? Dubois, the socket, orbital, like even the great super middleweight who fought Canelo, the gypsy, the traveler, who fought Canelo, who got the same socket problem. You know, Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders, my mate, yeah.
Yeah, so Billy had the same injury, right?
Yeah.
So it's a devastating injury. It's not something you play with, you know, when your fucking eye socket breaks. Also, the Sheffield kid had it also, ironically,
against Errol Spence.
Against Spence. So it's
Golovkin. It's both fights.
Both. It's extremely delicate. Like all of these great fighters, or supposedly great, all had the same issue. So Dubois joins three of the top, becomes three of the three great fighters.
Well, let's not call them great.
There's no question that both Billy Joe and
high-end fighters, yeah. Billy Joe and Kell Brook were both very good fighters, yeah.
And they have no fucking issue regarding balls and courage. And they both had a massive issue with this the orbital. So Dubois joins three really credible fighters, all the same injury. They all not quit. They all had to stop.
But do you remember what Billy Joe said to Dubois after Dubois capitulated, as it were?
Yes, he's very bad. Yes, I remember. But until it happens to you, right? And
then he said, "Get carried out that ring, brother."
Yeah, but then he understands what Dubois. I think when it comes to eyes and even nose to a degree, when you get serious injury and you're innately your body knows there's something drastically wrong, I don't think it's quit. I think your body just forces
survival instinct, self-preservation,
nature. Yeah. So let's write that off. Without that loss, the only loss he's had, he got beat to Usyk, but he was competitive, arguably won it. Then he looked weak in the way in which he lost it, but I think it was a mental thing. He's come back. He seems to be on momentum. So he's fought the best in the world, arguably, Usyk, and was competitive. Other than up to the fight with Joe Joyce, it was really competitive. So it's no real kinks.
But he was getting beat by Joyce. He was getting beat by Joyce, though. He was going to lose the fight, I believe.
Okay. But at that time, Joyce was unbeatable. You know, even Fury said he's the best heavyweight in the division outside of me. You know, he was on a big.
Remember the number he did on Parker, Gary? Remember the number that Joe Joyce did on the reinvented, rejuvenated Joseph Parker?
Yeah. So Joyce was, you know, again, it's like that overnight slide. You know, he may hit the slide and it happens. So other than that, Dubois has been a little bit heavily criticized. He's shown great character to come and just do the last fight. And I think, and now he's on a bit of a momentum. I think he's going to be really up for it. Hrgovic, I just don't, for me, I find him very unimpressive. Unless you think he's got something like that awkward thing that
I think he's very strong. He's awkward, and I think he takes a decent shot. That's absolutely true. And I've seen one of them fold in whatever circumstances twice, and I'm not saying that he should be criticised for that. That you know, you can't go walking around without getting wet. But of the two of them, I've seen one of them fold twice, in regardless of what the circumstances were. Hrgovic, I've seen him eat a load of leather from Zhang and keep walking through it.
Okay, so that's valid point. So that's.
I hope you're right. If I get all the others right and do really well, and I get some bonuses for a KO, and I get my stats up. If I get some good stats out of this, then I hope you're right, because I'd rather Dubois and Don won.
Good. And the other fight you're on is...
I'm going with Zhang's better fundamentals. I'm going with the woeful performance from Wilder last time, and the fact that, yes, Wilder will hit him, no doubt, but I'm going with the durability of Zhang as well to weather some rocky moments that might result from getting hit flush with that right hand. Don't get me wrong, I've got a nagging feeling Wilder's going to spark him, just because that's one of these kind of wild card feelings I have. But I'm going with the boxing brain and boxing logic, like you said. You said your boxing brain tells you that Zhang should be able to beat him as well, but you're trusting your instincts. You're not letting your nut rule your gut on this one. I guess I am doing. I'm going with Zhang. Yeah.
The one thing surprised me with Zhang was when he fought Joe Joyce, but again, we're on the fence with Joyce as he hit the slide, and so did Zhang beat someone who's gone over the edge. We'll know when he fights. We'll know for sure when he fights. I'm on the slide. My brain when he fights Chisora, if he's on the slide or not. You know, it'll be a make or break. If Chisora gets rid of him, we know he's over, gone, finished, end of story. But when Zhang fought Joyce, I was shocked how smart his boxing IQ was. He executed Joyce, and Joyce was looking for that. He was looking for that big backhand, and he hit with a hook. You know what I mean? And what a hook he hit.
Lovely counter. He looked like he knew exactly how to fight an orthodox, and Joyce looked like he'd never even seen a southpaw. To quote Carl Frampton, you know, he said he looked like he never saw one, never mind boxed one or sparred one. He was very disappointed versus Joseph Parker, really, or he was relatively disappointed versus Joseph Parker, I thought, coming off those impressive KOs against Joe Joyce, you know. So it's a funny old game. Go on.
He said on the interview he overlooked Parker, didn't really. So we'll see. I don't know how anyone can overlook anyone at that level.
No, but I don't think so.
You know, do you train less every day when you're fighting someone? You normally put the same work in for anyone. You know, I think it's on the night. I think this is why, which you can get into it on another show. The mental side of the fight game is so important. Like, you can win or lose a fight depending where your head's at on the night.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can, and I think that Fury
and
Usyk,
good advice and bad advice can win or lose a fight for you.
Like Fury Usyk, that was pivotal. That wasn't one fight that was always going to play out the same way. You can look at some fights and be like, they get the same results 100 times, and that's just based on the fundamentals of boxing and the abilities of the fighters and the styles. That fight on May the 18th in Riyadh, that swung on a coin. That changed.
Imagine,
on
Ben,
a couple of peripheral factors.
Imagine the fight, Ben. If Fury come back to a calm, educated corner, and they said, "Look, calm, breathe, get it. Okay, get in the middle of the ring, dictate the fight. Don't take a backward step. Box smart, feints, push him back. Clear instruction every round." He comes to the corner at the end of the 10th, and they say, if you don't win these convincingly, these next 2 rounds, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Like, completely give him clear information. Go and do it. He goes out. He educated. He does what he's told. He executes the plan. It's the difference between winning and losing a fight. It is so important, the corner.
Absolutely.
And so when it's chaos and you get back to chaos, you go back and you don't. It's not a way to win fights, and I think that's where great coaches, preparation and coaches, but everything is mental on the night. You can be in great shape, get it all wrong mentally, and you're not going to win. Get it right mentally, be clear, have instruction, stick to a plan, adjust with clarity. Then you can pull off anything. But with all the madness and the chaos, it runs into what you're doing. And if you don't get clear instruction, you stick to the game plan from someone watching from the outside who watches what Usyk's doing, he's watching the traps and the tricks, and he then relays it to the corner and tells him he's leading you onto that. He's forcing you against the ropes. Just throw that big left hand. Don't go against the ropes. Don't let him fool you with these silly body shots so that you lean back. All of this stuff that the corner can see. Although Tyson's going through it physically, you don't see what the guy, you see all the clues, and then you go back to a corner who educates you, said, don't let him trick with this body shot. Don't lean. and you
Yeah,
give him clear instruction. That's the difference between winning and losing, especially on a fight like you say, Ben. It was on the hinge; it could have gone either way. And
absolutely.
I think Usyk got better clarity every round to come back
And do you know
you know,
what, Gary? That's why there's a difference between a good trainer in the gym and a good corner man. Don't get me wrong, some people are both, some people are one or the other, and some people might be neither. But there is a difference between a good when you've done all your training and that's all done and you've made weight, you don't need a good trainer, you need a good corner man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why Angelo Dundee had made a career being in the corner.
Yeah, exactly that. Sid Bogle says, is just one person in the corner better? I mean, obviously not one personnel in the corner, but one voice, I think, yes.
I think one educated voice with possibly two, but they have the understanding who talks, when they talk, and is there room for a second opinion? Sure, respectfully, as long as coach A and B have a tight
Communicate
relationship
properly. Yeah.
and they know when it's like we have the show when you say don't talk on top. You know, you have an understanding, and with respect, you get the best show if you both are heard. If no one's gonna, it's like an eye for an eye makes the world go blind, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you have an understanding, then I think sure you can have two voices. Two eyes are better than one, but four eyes, but or three if it's Michael. But
Yeah.
there has to be respect and a pecking order and clarity.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I did a major corner in a title fight in the pros was Anthony Small when he lost to Sam Webb, right? British light middleweight title fight. Your old weight, your old title. That was on the undercard of Matthew Hatton versus it was like a double header with Matthew Hatton versus Gianluca Branca. I think it was 2010, if memory serves. But anyway, Anthony Small's head trainer, Dave Pereira, who asked me to do the corner with him, he said, if you've got something to say, let's say it during the round, we discuss it, then I'll talk to him when the bell rings and he sits down. He says, but let's talk and discuss it during the round, so I get your ideas as well, and then I'll relay them to him once we get to the interval, which I think that system works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There has to be a system. That's the key word, Ben.
Exactly that. And obviously they didn't have that with Fury, but Fury, in some ways, he's got to be held responsible for that because he's running his own camp, and it's difficult when it's your dad, don't it? It's difficult when it's family. If people might say, "Oh, your dad's this and he's that, or he's a nightmare," what do you do that for? But it's hard to. You're kind of stuck with your family to a degree, aren't you?
Yeah, and you have to separate. It's like, people have issues with their family sometimes, and it's like you can't choose your family, but you choose your friends. So it is what it is. If your family or if you got a fucked up sibling, what can you do about it? It's your sibling. You just love them, left good or bad. But it doesn't mean you pick fucked up friends to hang out with who are going to put you in situations that you got to get them out of day in, day out. You just say, I can't do it anymore. But when it's family, you've got to hang in there. You can't disown your family. So it's tough. And it's really tough.
Okay, how's it going, Dave? Sorry, it's Robert Hernandez here, not David. Okay,
how's it going, continue. I'm sorry. I was going to say
we're about to wrap anyway. I just thought I thought it was David at first, but I thought I'd just say we'll obviously have to reschedule David's appearance. I just thought we'd.
Yeah, he got caught up in it's just traffic horrible in Florida and just crocodiles, you name it, everything out there. He just couldn't get around the whole crocodiles. I thought, hey, you can make some boots out of them, but hey. So
Okay.
I'll call Ben, I'll talk to him. It's like, and just reschedule, see if we get him back on there because he'll be fun to be on your show, and you guys are amazing. Hi, Stretch, you too. Like you guys talked, you guys are amazing today. I loved it. Everybody about the heavyweights and all that, yeah. But you know what I think about Wilder versus Reese? That's what I
want a fresh opinion. Tell me.
The opinion about the Gypsy King against the rematch with Wilder?
Oh no, with Usyk.
For Usyk. For Usyk rematch with him. I think Usyk will go in. I think he could probably beat him again. The fight was so close. I love the fight. It was so great. I think if the Gypsy King and him, it was a close fight. But the thing what happened is if he wasn't messing around, fooling around, he would have dominated the fight. And that's the truth. He could have dominated Usyk, but Usyk was smart. He went in there to do his job. He got it done. Gave him a whipping in ninth round, wasn't it round? He started almost dropped him down. If it wasn't for the rope, he would have put him on the ground. And this is the truth. in the standing 8 count, I could see
Well,
yes or no, you know, but
it wasn't a standing 8 count. It was a
oh, it wasn't,
count
right?
after a knockdown called. It was a knockdown
Okay,
called. So it's a
They,
mandatory
they
count.
judged it as a knockdown because the
like the
ropes
knockdown, right?
Yeah.
because the ropes are holding him up. They said he would
Yeah,
have been down.
and it's funny because you haven't really see that in professional boxing as much as you do in the amateurs. Because in the amateurs, they give you that what when you hit it on the rope, right? They stop it right away.
Yeah, and then amateurs will give you standing counts as well all the time. If your head jerks back,
Yeah.
whatever, they'll give you a standing count. Whereas the pros don't really do that. They used to do it in Europe a little bit, Gary, back in the day. I remember seeing
Mhm.
Tony Ayala Jr. fighting in Italy, and they
Oh,
gave his
yalla.
opponent a standing count. You know, so but it's not generally something that's done in professional boxing. No,
Like,
and
yeah.
in that
Robert?
instance, go on.
No, Robert, give us your breakdown on the fight tomorrow, Wilder and Zhang.
And Zhang.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one. I think Zhang could probably win that because Wilder. The thing about Wilder, he's looking for that one punch knockout. You know, he's
Yeah.
gonna tire himself out. So basically, he's gonna go in there trying to knock his head off, round after round after round, and then when he gets tired, just like Fury did to him, right? You get him tired, and he's yours. He's pretty much yours if you get him tired. But if you don't get him tired, Wilder could knock you out because he does
I
have them
think you
heavy
got to push
hands.
it back too. I think you got to push Wilder backwards.
Yep, you got to
And
push it
take
because
those
he don't
long
know how
levers
to.
away.
He doesn't know how to fight backing up. That's the thing
No.
about Wilder. He don't know how to fight back up. He doesn't know how to fight off the ropes because that's how Fury beat him. You know, get him
Yeah.
tired, fight him off the ropes,
Lost his second
back him
time.
up, and he don't know what to do. Because you can
Yeah.
see when he gets, I say about the 5, 6 round, that's when Wilder starts getting tired because he's throwing bombs every single time. He's just throwing bombs instead of boxing. But the last fight I saw Wilder, he actually did a little better because he started boxing a little better. If you noticed that, a little bit different. He's not throwing
But
as many bombs as usual. But I think if he does it again, he goes back to his bad habits, fighting off the ropes, fighting backwards, and just trying to land that one punch knockout. And then you fight a guy that's technical, that moves around, makes you miss, makes you pay. It's gonna be a long night for Wilder too.
sure. Well, we'll
Interesting.
find out soon enough, Robert. Thanks for joining us and explaining David King Estrada's absence. We understood it anyway because I was getting your text, so I just couldn't respond to it. But let's
Okay.
reschedule with David Estrada. We all watch this big show in Riyadh tomorrow with a lot of interest, and so let's reschedule. Everybody, thanks for watching. Remember, if you haven't subscribed already, what the heck are you waiting for? You know it's the best podcast in boxing, regardless
Oh yeah,
of the
yes it is.
viewership or subscriber figures or any of those meaningless statistics. You're only going to get Sugar, Silk and Stretch right here, right now. Tune in on Sunday night. Hopefully the other fellow will be joining us again. Be lucky. Keep punching.
Good night, and thanks, Robert, for joining.
Good night.